Well, for those of us who might be new, I think most of everybody who I'm seeing so far, I think has been here before. Again, appreciate you guys being here despite the holidays. Um, how this group call is going to go is we're going to open up with wins. It's the first of the year, guys. It doesn't have to be a win. Maybe we even celebrate what happened last year. Let's take a moment to reflect. What goals did we hit? Even if it's progress goals, maybe you didn't hit your big goal, but you made progress in some way by hiring an office manager, project manager. You had a best revenue month. Maybe you're more profitable than you were. And then if anybody wants to share their goal for 2025, or even for the first quarter, what's kind of our goal here? What are we thinking about? Would love to hear that from you guys. And then after the wins, we're going to jump into the open Q&A. What questions, what issues are we running into? Most powerful hour of the week here because you've got other clients here, other contractors who have been where you are or are where you are. And so just take advantage of that. But without further ado, guys, how was our last bit of 2024? What wins are happening? If any.
May not be a ton, Jay. I assume you didn't win big over your adventure.
No, I got 59.
Oh.
And it's a poker tournament I was telling Bryce about. I play a lot of poker. So.
Nice. Love that.
Nice.
Any
All right.
wins? How did 2024 wrap up? What's kind of our intentions for 2025 or even just the first quarter?
I'll go. Our Google business is finally starting to show results other than just our name. We're having some issues, and finally, some of the keywords are actually showing. We're starting to rank and starting to show up. So that was cool. We were a little worried there for a bit that we might need to restart. Might need to start fresh with a new account, and it is finally starting to trickle in and show, additions, remodels, construction, as opposed to just our name. So that's super exciting. That's a big win in my book.
Huge.
Oh yeah.
Huge win, Bryn. I was seeing some head nods. I think there's quite a few people who can, appreciate where you are, have been where you are with Google, but just stay in the course, doing what we know works. So that's very exciting. What other wins do we have? Scott, I saw you just pop on. I don't know if you're in your position to talk, but I know that 2024 kind of wrapped up pretty well for you guys. I don't know if you.
Yeah, I wasn't going to jump on and say anything because I kind of said something a week or so ago, but yeah, we come right there at our $1 million goal mark that we had set.
First full year of business.
First full year of business. We're right at 300 5-star Google reviews. And this is all stuff that, thanks to you guys, Redmond Growth, obviously we were going to start a business and we've done business before. I feel like we would have been successful to a certain degree, but having you guys there by our side, pushing us, keeping us accountable, and kind of keeping it between the lines has just been tremendously helpful. I made the comment the other day, I wish the first time I started a business 25 years ago, I'd have had Redmond Growth there to help me. I would have saved myself so many mistakes. And I know everybody feels like we can do it on our own, and we can, but even the professionals have coaches. I know we talk all the time about checklists and all that stuff. That the airline pilots and doctors and all have checklists, but even the greatest athletes and businessmen and other stuff in the world have coaches, and that's because of the that outside perspective that is so important. You know, a lot of times we get tunnel vision and we get so focused on something that seems like a really great idea, and then you say it out loud to a coach, and it's like, or you realize you're going to have to say it out loud to a coach, like that. That's really dumb. No,
Never
we
mind.
won't do that. So it's been great, and we really appreciate it, and we're looking forward to another great year. So we're anticipating, our goal next year is at least 1.75 billion. So we're looking for big things.
Yes, Scott, thank you so much for sharing. And if those of you, if you haven't sat down with your coach yet, or your business partner, or even just with yourself and kind of broken down your goal for 2025 and what that looks like on a month-to-month basis, even a week-to-week basis, we have a really helpful tool that we can use that kind of breaks down what your quarter goal is or annual goal is, and what that would need to look like on a monthly basis and on a weekly basis in order to get there. We even break it down profit percentage wise, average ticket wise, and so it'll make it really, really tangible. And that's really key. If you want to hit your goal, you have to know what needs to happen on a week by week, month by month basis in order to get there. We've got to have those smaller progress goals, if you will. And so if you haven't done that with your coach, I would bring it up in your next meeting. Jordan, I see your hand up. Oh, before I let you go, Jordan, talk about diligent doers. I don't know if anybody caught that. It's Scott's first year in business with this company, and they have over 300 Google reviews. Okay? Keep that in mind. Like that is a diligent doer there. I promise it's possible. He's not buying those reviews. They have systems in place to make sure that it happens. And so if you're looking and you're like, oh my gosh, my nearest competitor has 700 reviews, it's going to take me forever to get there. Not if you're diligent. I promise. Just chip away at it. Set that weekly goal. You'll get there.
Well, let me say on that, Nicole, I feel like we've dropped the ball. We should have had 500. So
I like
we're
that.
back on track this year on that. So
Heck yes, Scott. Jordan, tell us what's happening.
We're pretty stoked. Brent and I, coming into this year, we have our first contract looking to sign on hopefully next week. It's been a couple months in the making, but it's about $140,000 contract. So to kickstart that off for 24, pretty exciting and encouraging for us. So we're pumped. Although it's not signed, we already had a conversation a couple days ago with the owner, and they're ready to sign. They just want to see some numbers real quick and get going. So we're excited.
That is super
Yeah.
exciting. What a way to start the year. And I do love that you caught yourself where you're like, it's not real unless it's signed, but it's gonna. And so love that. What else do we have going on today, guys? What wins? Good things that are happening. Okay. Well, let's get into it. What questions do we have today? What issues are we running into? Maybe you came back from the holidays to complete chaos. Maybe you came back from the holidays and things were smooth sailing. I don't know. But what issues are we running into? What burning questions are on your mind? Let's get into it.
Does Scott have any? What are you doing to get, like, I don't have 300 customers in a year. So, but what are you doing to get those customers? Because that's like, I find that I have to text every single one of them myself to get the ones that I get. Is there a process or something that you guys have that you're doing to get those reviews?
we do incentivize our employees. We give them a $10 spiff or bonus, whatever you want to call it, to ask for the reviews. But on our CMS or CRM, we also request it. With the end, we just send out it's an automatic message that goes out and asks for the review. And then in a day or two after the service, one of the ladies in the office makes a phone call, make sure they're happy with their service, anything else we could do for them, and ask them to leave a review. So and that's where I was saying we haven't done that as diligently in the last half of this year as we did the first half. And I feel like we could have gotten a lot more reviews. But we give them, we make 3 attempts at it.
Okay.
At least, and and we do go through scripts that Redmond has given us on how to do that, so it doesn't sound, it just sounds professional and neat and not needy or me or whatever. We do it in a way that we want to let the customer know, and then that it also promotes our guys doing 5-star service, because they know the review is going to be asked for, whether they do or not. And so if they know if they get cruddy service, that's going to be out there as well. So it's a two-pronged thing for us. It keeps us on our toes and reminding our guys that we've got to do 5-star service, because we're going to be out there asking for those reviews. And the other side of that is you can be asking for reviews, and if you totally screwed the job up, you might got an extra chance of them leaving a bad review. So you definitely got to stay on top of it.
Yeah, I think that's really key, especially with my remodelers. The best time to ask for that review is during that final walkthrough, when everybody is feeling really good, kind of high off of the emotions. It's done. It's beautiful. We're happy. Awesome. Okay, great. We've loved working for you. If you guys ever need anything, we would absolutely love to serve you guys again. One thing that really helps us out is a Google review. In fact, if you could scan this QR code for me real quick, it will send you straight to where you guys could leave one. Could you scan that for me and make sure that it works? Or if you want to text them the link. Hey, I just texted you a link. Could you click on it real quick, make sure it takes you to the right place? Perfect. Is it asking you to log into your Google account, or do you see the stars? The stars, perfect. You're already logged in. All you have to do is click the stars and just type a little brief something. Doesn't need to be super long, about what your experience was like. We really value that. It helps us out a ton. If they don't do it, then I would make sure to do the follow-up call that Scott was talking about. Have somebody on your team, whether it's a project manager or office manager, yourself, doing that follow-up call within 48 hours of that job wrapping up. The way we do that call is we're just checking on quality. Have you noticed anything in the 48 hours since we've been there? Is there anything that you want us to come back out and do? Any concerns, grievances? We're just kind of checking in. And if everything goes well with that conversation, we're going to ask for that review again, and we're going to text them the link. We're going to ask them to click on it. And then have your coach, because this is absolutely available at Redmond Growth, have us do a quarterly or monthly email campaign based on how many clients that you have. For my remodelers, it's usually quarterly or every 6 months, just depending on how large their projects are. But if you're hitting it in that 3 different ways, your chance of getting the reviews a lot higher. Aaron, I see your hand up.
Yeah, so I had an idea. Has anybody incentivized the customer for leaving the review? Basically, I was thinking this morning, actually, it's kind of funny you guys thought of that, or you guys brought it up, but I was thinking of possibly offering a discount, just incorporate it and build it into our estimates and add some fluff, right? A couple $100 and tell them, hey, leave us a review. We'll knock off $200 off your bill. This is your bill. Has anybody tried that approach? Because directly paying them, I think, would incentivize them if they know that they're going to get a discount. And is there any legal, right? That's the only thing in my mind was, I wonder if that's, it sounds like fair game, right?
So it is something that Google shuns. You cannot pay people for reviews, and they would consider it to be paying somebody for reviews if it's documented or something that you send out. You wouldn't be as I guess protected in that way. We've also just found that more people tend to respond when they feel like they're helping somebody out, more so than getting something for themselves. Because usually people aren't giving more than 10, $15 or $50 at most kind of to somebody for leaving a review. And so people don't tend to be too incentivized by that. They would rather feel good about themselves by helping somebody. So that's the only thing from our side that we would say. So I don't know that we have advised anyone to do that side of it. It
Yeah, no,
does
I
seem lucrative.
totally, that's what it was then, the Google thing. But to that note, I was thinking, maybe mention to them what their final price will be and then just build it as fluff in the beginning anyway. I mean, that's what we do when we know we're going to change order somebody and there's been a mistake and I tell them, oh, well, we're going to give you a break. We just fluff it. You know what I mean? So then they see a fluff number, 10% higher than what we would have charged them anyway. And then we end up charging them what we're going to charge them and they're happy and it's common middle ground. And so I personally was thinking, hey, I mean, if we just maybe talk to them, right? The project manager or whoever, and just throw it out there, I'm sure that, I mean, people are, if they think they're going to get a couple $100 off, I'm pretty sure that's gonna
Yeah, a couple
you know.
$100 is definitely different than like 10 to 20.
Yeah, well, yeah,
Sure.
yeah. But they're not going to care. They're going to be like, whatever.
Yeah.
People are
Just
greedy, right? And
make sure
they
it's
fight
not
with you over nonsense.
documented. Just make sure it's
Yeah,
not documented anywhere. It's not in an email. It's not in a text. We don't mention a discount for reviews anywhere, because if that got turned into Google, we've
you want to
seen
get
people
canceled.
we've seen people's reviews get taken away. But incentivizing is great, and like Bryce said, we do see a lot of success, especially with your project manager or your tech saying, hey, and by the way, it actually helps me out. I get a little bit of a
Like,
bonus every single
that's
time
right.
that I get a review. And that, like Bryce said, we see that being more incentivizing than even offering the customer a discount,
Mm.
because this is a person that they've been directly dealing with for the duration of their project and service. This person's helped them, they've been kind, they feel indebted. And so a lot of times we see that doing more than even incentivizing the customer. But incentivizing in some way is definitely encouraged, giving something for that review, whether it's to your client or your customer. Just if it's to the client, make sure it's not documented anywhere.
Sure. Okay. So that has more success incentivizing
Mm-hmm.
all the way around.
Yep.
Structured in the right format. Okay.
Exactly. Great
Awesome.
questions.
Yeah, great addition, Nicole. I forgot about that part of utilizing it you could still do the incentives to your team, but your team talking about how it benefits them. Like, hey, this helps me out, gives me a small bonus every time I get a review.
Yeah.
That. Great
Does
questions.
anybody have any review goals for 2025? We're okay. Realistic goal of what I want to come out of 2025 with for review count. James, I saw your eyebrows wiggle.
What
We
are
don't.
goals that people have set in the past? You guys have, can you think of any examples of any of your other customers in the past that have structured it? Because in my mind, it's like, well, every job, right? We want to get a review, but how do we? What's a good baseline?
Depends on the industry. Like a service company, it's going to be different, especially if you're like a plumber, electrician, you're going to 4 or 5 different houses per day compared to like a remodeler or somebody with a larger project. And so you kind of want to break it down that way. Like if we do 4 projects per month, I'm a remodeler, I do 4, I'm going to set my goal for 2 reviews per month. Or a lot of my remodelers, it's 1 review per week. For my service guys, it's like we should be getting 2 to 4 per day. And if we're doing that and we're holding ourselves accountable, you're very quickly going to be like complete electric where you're in the hundreds, and hold your team accountable to it too. If you have techs or a project manager where it's like, hey, this is your goal per week, this is your goal per month, I'm writing it down on a whiteboard that we're looking at every time we have a team meeting, and I'm keeping track of who's getting reviews, making it very public, very clear, who's meeting the standards and who isn't. Why is this guy able to get reviews, this guy isn't? And kind of making a competition out of it.
A good baseline to think about as well is realistically, it's different for a remodeler, but for a service company, at least like 30% of all the people you ask for reviews, making that a goal would be a good one as well. The 30% of the people you could have gotten a review from, you did. For a remodeler, you'd want that to be higher because again, you have more of that interaction with the person. Yeah, rapport. You're talking with them. It's a longer project. There's more buy-in there. So at least 60%, I would say, of the people you do work for, you'd get those reviews. What's up, Jordan?
Hey, I would say back to James' comment. James, I don't know how customer facing you are day to day with your clients, but for our business here, Brent and I, we've restructured to where basically I'm the one who I'm the one who goes in, talks to the customer, locks it down, has a good conversation. I'm there working as well. I'm there finishing. And so one thing that we decided to take advantage of is the relationship that I already had with our clients. So when we went out to go get reviews, we got about 43 in the last 3 weeks. That's not because we did 43 projects in the last 3 weeks. We just realized that, hey, Bryce was like, you guys need reviews. We're like, okay. So we had a review campaign, and my job as called the chief relations officer, I had great relationships with all these people that we've done work with before. And it just wasn't our business. It was character reviews as well. And we made it very clear on whether it was a character review or a review on our business that we had operated with a client in the past. Was I detailed or I customized each message that I sent to the client. So I had a specific copy paste message, then I would put their names in there, and then I would customize it a little bit through. And at the very end, I'd add something very specific about their family, not to twist their arm or make them feel, super special, or I'm not trying to squeeze something out of them. That's normally who I am. And they know that. So when they hear that text or they get that text, they're like, oh my gosh, this is Jordan. Oh, it's great to hear from him. I hadn't heard from him in about 6 months. Yeah, I'd love to leave a review for you. Oh, my family's doing well, by the way. Thanks for asking. And going that little extra mile for us helped lock 43 reviews down in the last 3 weeks, 3 to 4 weeks. And that was incredible for us. But a lot of that was, it took mainly 2 texts. There was about 35% an immediate response off of all those people that I reached out to. And the other 65%, I had to reach out again, probably about 3 or 4 times. And I'd wait about a week, maybe 5 days, reach out, say, hey, just check and make sure that Google review or that attachment worked for you and it opened up. But since I am almost the face of the company here, boots on the ground, that's one reason why I took advantage of that situation of being the guy going out and getting the reviews. If we had obviously client or employees, we would do the incentive for the employees, like Nicole and Bryce were talking about a few minutes ago. But since for our company right now, in the face of it, I'm the one sending the text messages, taking an hour in my day to message as many people as I can find in my phone and custom tailor each message. But it worked really well for us.
And James, don't be go after your subs. We got a lot from subs. We reached out and just said, hey, would you mind leaving a review? And then also, hey, we'll leave a review for you if they had a Google account. So we did that for all of, and anybody we've worked with that we had a good experience. We asked for the review from them.
Yeah, awesome.
That's great. Great advice. Anybody who can testify to the quality of work they've seen you perform, how it is working with you, the quality of human they've seen you be, those are all valid people to ask a review from. All they need is a Google account. So definitely don't limit yourself to customers. And Jordan, what industry are you guys in? Are you more on the remodeling side or?
We're transitioning into new builds and additions, but as of right now, the most work that we have done is remodeling.
That's awesome. Yeah, I only ask because I know for a lot of my remodelers, it's harder, to get reviews and like a service guy. And so I love hearing that you were able to get 46 just by really being tenacious about it. That's huge.
Yeah, in terms of a goal, it's less about what the goal is, and it's more about I think, first of all, it's more about understanding what acquiring more Google reviews will do for you and your business, and making it really personal, So how do you make it personal? Well, how is it going to financially benefit you? That's how you make it personal. And really getting that down in your head. So if you're spending, for example, a good amount of money on advertising, one way to think about it is, okay, well, if I can, reduce my advertising costs by 30%, 50%, and I can make up for it because I have a higher number of leads or calls from my free Google listing, that's going to add however many thousands of dollars per month to my bottom line. And so that is the first thing. Then the next thing is just what's realistic. Like how many new customers, how many subs do you run into regularly where you could get a review from? What kind of potential do you have? And then just whatever it is, set a goal that you're serious about, right? We a lot of times set goals because we feel like we need to set goals because people tell us to set goals, but we have no like connection to the actual goal. And so first understand what's going to do for you, then what's realistic, and then just set it, even if it's one a month, that's fine. So long as you are setting something that's going to make you focus towards getting progress. It's going to make you as a business owner be curious about, are we actually getting this? You're going to ask about it with your team. You're going to think about it when you're finishing projects, whatever it is, just make the goal something that you're serious about and then follow accordingly. Just because the difference is that people can get reviews, or the differences between people who have a hard time getting reviews, it's all over the board. Yes, service businesses do get a lot more reviews because they're in front of a lot of customers, but even among construction and remodeling companies, it's all over the board. At the end of the day, I think it mainly comes down to just what does the business owner actually really legitimately want to do? Are they really serious about getting Google reviews? Okay, the people that are get more, it's not, I don't know how, in general, yes, between service and construction, there's big differences, but within the two, I don't know how different it is. I think the main thing is just the owners want to.
Cool. All right. What other questions do we have this morning? Anything that's got you considering how you might do differently in the business? What other thoughts do we have? What brought you here today? Going once. To give you guys some time, I want to follow up on something that Nicole had started talking about earlier, because I think it's just valuable to think about this together with everyone. This is the tool that you're going to use, or you would use with your coach, in order to make some of these year goals, to give yourself kind of a leading perspective rather than a lagging perspective. If you're familiar with those terms, lead, lag, is we want to look at what maybe like 4 or 5 inputs in order to set a weekly, monthly goal to hit your goals. And we can do this on different time frames. So we can do this on a 4-month time frame, 8 months, or in total for the year. But essentially what we need to know is what's your goal revenue-wise, and we can work it backwards too if we wanted to. But say the goal is $1.5 million. Great. What's our conversion rate? So this would be how many leads you need in order to set X number of appointments, if that's service or construction. So typically this is a little bit higher for most people, that 80% of the people that call you end up setting up for some sort of appointment, whether that's a measurements or a service. And then your closing rate, what is that going to be for the year? And this can be, you can play with this tool to do both what it actually is and how we want to improve it to see what changes it makes. And I'll show that here in a second. And then of course your profit margin as well. And then you need to have this number over here, which is your current average ticket total. So each job that you close, if you're closing on average $15,000 jobs, then this shows us that for a $1.5 million year, if our conversion rate's 80%, our closing rate's 40%, what we need to do is work on our marketing in order to get 5 leads a week, so that we can give 4 estimates, and out of those 4 estimates, close 2 roughly $15,000 jobs on a weekly basis. It gives us a very clear, specific, tangible goal to go on a weekly basis. And then of course it scales up to a month, and then you have your goal for the year. This shows us in advance what we would be shooting for, rather than just am I doing enough looking back at my numbers month to month to actually have made that goal happen or to make it a reality? So the other part of this is you can play with this to find out, okay, maybe I'm not at that 80%, or maybe I want to improve my closing rate. If I can improve it to 50%, how much does that change what I would have to do in the year in order for things to go differently, I guess. If you were to improve your closing rate, like working on your sales process and improve that from 45% to 60%, then you only need 4 leads every week instead of the 5. So you don't have to spend as much on marketing if you're improving your sales process. So work with your coach, get with your coach to be able to utilize this tool so that we can get some clear leading goals that you can look towards and say, are we measuring up to this as the year goes along? Be proactive about it rather than reactive. Go ahead, Jordan.
So quick question for anybody who's gone through this, but I know in this next month, we could be getting potentially a lot of phone calls. I know our website's launching here pretty soon. The Google reviews is up. Google's starting to track. Has anyone experienced that first month or 2 month where all of a sudden they get slammed? And second part is, if that's the case, what phone-based app have you guys used for your business? Right now we have Dialpad, and it's worked so far, but potentially we're looking at a system that might be easier to track the phone calls that come in, that auto-generate messages, that make it easier apart from hiring an admin. I know eventually we will most likely be hiring an admin shortly, but has anyone experienced that type of growth before in a very quick amount of time? And how'd you curb it? And did you use a web-based phone app for it?
Maria, I don't know. I see that you might be on, but I don't see you. And so if you are able to answer that, I think you would give some great advice. Anybody been in that situation? Is Jordan kind of your question, like, should I hire an office manager? Should I use like a phone service? If somebody has used a phone service, how has that gone? Is that kind of your question?
Yeah, if there's any phone service someone has had experience with before or highly recommends, or a system that can be put into place where we don't lose the phone calls once they start coming in. Because right now it's a 2-man team, apart from hiring an admin maybe in a month or so. We just want to make sure that we continue to keep, the reputation that we have in communication and calling back.
Hire now.
Tell them why, Scott. Why do you suggest that?
We did have similar situation where when we were starting out, got our website up, got the Google Leads going. There's just nothing like having a actual person answering your phone. And one of the biggest mistakes we made up front initially in hiring for that position was kind of like, hey, look, this is going to be an easy job. It's, really laid back. It's not really, and it's never turned into that. That person always had a tremendous amount of work to do day one. There was a few days in the very beginning where it was easy, but they're getting used to your system, reading scripts, learning scripts. There's plenty to do. I would say get them up and running. Um, we've thought before we were hiring too soon, and in retrospect, it was not too soon. If you're going to grow, you need to have the people in place, and no time than the present when you have the time to do the proper training to get those people ready. So you're saying you want to hire somebody in the heat of the moment when everything is blowing up, and you're going to have to hit the ground running with no, little training because it's wide open. I would hire before, so you've got the time for the training. But that's just my opinion.
I think that's super solid advice. That position is always, a lot of times we see the office manager as an expense or somebody like a receptionist who's answering the phone because they're not out like doing work and bringing in revenue. But that person is always going to bring in revenue for managing it correctly with what they're doing on the phone to help us with our sales process, with our marketing, with following up with leads. Like it is always going to drive revenue and it's not going to be an expense if it's managed well. Now, I would encourage getting call recording on your phone, Jordan. So that's something I would look into just to make sure that we can see their activity on the phone. We can check
Oh,
and
wait,
look
time
at
out real quick. Jordan, is your main question right now what phone system to use for you and Bryn? Or are you wanting to, because earlier you said, I'm wanting to be sure we don't lose any calls because it's just me and Bryn right now.
Yeah. So the main question was phone-based service, something that easily to track the calls, automate messages if
Okay.
we don't get to them.
Are you guys set up on CMM?
We are set up through JobTread, which is our platform we used before. That was integrated with everything else.
So we provide a software called CMM, and that's what I would recommend getting on. I'd recommend getting on it because the main goal of having all of your calls and leads go to one place, it achieves that goal better than any software system that I know of out there. So making sure that you don't like miss a call or miss a message or anything like that, it's awesome for doing that. Then it also like records all your calls too. So it does a call recording. So again, that's a software we provide. There's a number of steps that we take to set that up and make sure everything is connected right and the system is working right. But that's what I would recommend. Is getting set up on that system just so that you can have all your leads going to one place and record your calls and everything like that. And you don't need to change your voice over IP service. We just forward everything to whatever phones that you guys have set up right now.
Yeah. Which would give you the opportunity, the ability to hold accountable too, as well. All the stuff that was being said about the office admin position. But yeah, CMM is the route to take.
Michael, do you have something?
Yes. I started using Open Phone with my admin with CMM because it'll just forward to it. And I found Open Phone is great. Both of the phones can ring for the same phone call. I can forward my phone calls to the admin. I could see when she's answered. We can have little side text threads on texts that come in. It's the first VoIP I use, so I really don't have any something to compare it to, but it's been great. It's called Open Phone.
That's awesome.
And it records all the
like,
phone calls, and yeah, I like it. I like it a lot.
Love that.
Aaron,
Looks
do
like
you have
Summit Home
something?
Solutions uses that too.
Well, I was going to say the same thing. We use the CMM, and it's very beneficial. If you guys are still going to be answering your own phone, you're probably wearing many hats throughout the day, so you're handling other tasks. And if your focus right now is primarily to still be able to manage your time and make sure that you lend attention to your customers. If you're reading a script, getting key information from them while you're doing something else, CMM records everything. So you just go back to your call and reference it, type in your notes, plug in all of their information. But I myself am in between admin assistants right now. So, kind of had to take the phone back up while we're interviewing more people. And as I'm doing that, I'm still maintaining a busy schedule. So sometimes I get 4, 5, 6, 7 calls back to back. I run the script, get all the information from the customer without writing anything down. Then I just go back to it, or I give it to one of my team members and say, hey, decipher all this information. 7 calls came through, take care of that. And it's really beneficial. What another thing for the admin assistant position, when you do get or receptionist, whatever you want to call it, when you do get to that point, my brother-in-law works he right now, and I meet with him tomorrow on this. There's an AI software, so there's a lot of that basically. So the price for AI to interact with your customers just like a real person is going to be about $500 a month. And I'm meeting with him tomorrow so that we can do a demonstration. And we train the AI software just like we would a regular person. So we want them to do a call script. We want them to answer key pieces of information. We want them to be friendly. And unless the customer, and this is what I've been told, because I asked, a ton of questions during the first interview, or the that I had with him regarding this. He said that unless a customer were to ask, are you an AI software, they wouldn't know. And so that's I'm excited to learn about that. $500 a month is less than what we're paying for that position. So I got to see how it pans out. And I'll share that later once I know. But that's one of the solutions to an assistant. And then the other one, yeah, I agree with Robert. The CMM's definitely helped a lot.
That is really good feedback and insight. I love hey, I'm just going to let the call record it. I'm not going to stress out. And I'm either going to go back or get a team member to go back to get all the information from the call. That's really, especially if you're the only one managing the phone, that's a really great recommendation.
Nice.
Is that a little bit more helpful, Jordan? Did I get your question?
Yeah, no, I appreciate it, guys. Thanks for the input.
Sweet. Any other questions out there? Any other thoughts? Things we want to run by?
So I got a question. We do not have so in my company, we rent an office, which is in downtown district. It's not zoned for construction. We're a construction business. And so we do concrete and starting to pick up some remodels, but primarily that's what we do and focus on. And so I have my trucks, all of my construction equipment, my tractors, tools at a warehouse that I rent on a totally, way far out from where our office is at. Myself and my team is at the office every day, and I have to send a foreman and the leads, I have to send the foremans, the leads out to the warehouse and have them pick up our, equipment for the next day, or the tools, depending on what task we're doing. And one challenge that we're having is, in our experience in the past, working for other businesses prior to opening our own business, prior to me opening my own business, we would meet at a centralized location. You meet at the office, right? Or you meet at the shop, or the foreman goes in and checks. He gets the information from whoever filters that to him, the general superintendent, the owner, and then brings it to the site. The team of installers meets him on site, and then they get the day going. And because we're doing several small projects, building a schedule out and being ahead of it is a bit of a challenge sometimes, right? Sometimes our sales isn't 100% to where we'd like it to, where it needs to be, to have the schedule built out for a few months. And the challenge that we're having is just we have a lot of quality control issues, managing our team. I don't feel that it's efficient to be there and micromanage them every day, and be on site to guide them. And so does anybody else have a process that they use for their daily, to filter that information to their guys, to keep them guided remotely, I guess, right? What we were brainstorming was, should we do a daily check on our team, throughout the day? What would be the best time to do that? Who's going to take care of that? And how do we guide them in their process? We bid work. We know how much time it's going to take to do the work. In concrete, there's 5 basic tasks that you got to do, and we know how much each task is going to take. We tell our foreman, this job should take 3 days, and then it takes 4 days, 4.5 days, and we get, there's some inefficiencies there, and there's some miscommunication, some coordination issues that have came up, and we're trying to figure out a solution to help them to be more successful, to be more efficient, and help ourselves to be more organized and have more structure remotely, right? Anybody have any suggestions?
Yeah, for sure. And others can also chime in on this as well. But what you talked about, Aaron, is exactly what I would start with, is the daily huddles type of check-ins. Do you have you said you have foremans on each job site already? Like you have a lead guy?
Yeah, we sure do, and then we have
Okay.
PMs as well in the office, and so
Okay. So usually what you're talking about there is, right, just the communication breakdown. And one of the very helpful benefits that COVID gave us is that it is a lot more normal, even in the trades, to be doing video type of meetings like this. So if it doesn't make practical sense, right, for you to be on every job site at 8 a.m., it's not even possible for you to be at every job site at 8 a.m. or 7 a.m., whatever time you start the day. But having that sort of a daily huddle, even if it's, you with your foreman and then your foreman have to lead their own on site, great. Getting people set up on and off to the races by covering the same 4 topics, that would be the route that I would absolutely take. Or if it's you needing to be there specifically, having each of them with the foreman tune in to a call like this or FaceTime on their phones, where you start and do like a quick little rundown. The system or structure I would use is actually this, where it's really straightforward, and it's just 4 things that you cover each day to kind of start and get people off and set in the right trajectory. So you gather them and follow these 4 things. So 1, you set the tone by sharing wins, personal, business, what got accomplished, XYZ. 2 is the issues. This is what we normally always end up talking about in all of the meetings, but it's only one of the 4 things we want to do. And then number 3 is to set the pace for that day. So like you said in your example, this should take you 3 days to finish. You get an update on where they're at on the project from where they finished last time. And then the next day you're saying, okay, this is what you should be able to accomplish today on this project. You set that pace. As much time as we have to complete something is as much time as it's going to take. And then the 4th thing is on a daily or a weekly basis, getting these opportunities for training nuggets with your team. A daily reminder, giving individual team praise. Hey, don't forget to ask for the review. This guy got 5 reviews last month. Remind them of their weekly focus, their KPIs, and then you break the huddle. It doesn't have to be a long meeting at all. It can be like a 10, 15-minute just standing huddle to make sure everybody's on the same idea of, okay, are we still in line with everything we're supposed to be? But I think it can definitely happen on each job site where they tune into some sort of like a video meeting. That'd be my first suggestion. And I'll put this in the chat.
Aaron, you can do a lot by just requiring each foreman to, at the end of every day, part of what their job description is to send you an update on what was done that day and the progress that they're making with the timeline that they have. So in your example of like, hey, we're saying we're gonna be done with something in 3 days, but it ends up taking 4 or 5 days. Well, a lot of times it taking another 1 or 2 days instead of just 3 days is not because of what was done on the last day, right? It's not because of mistakes that was made on the 3rd day. It's because probably small stuff happened on the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd day that pushed the whole thing behind. And no one's noticing it because it's just a small thing that happens throughout the day. And it seems like a normal part of the daily thing. And everyone's like, why is this taking longer? But no one's noticing and no one's looking at like the incremental progress on a daily basis that's being made. But instead of you stressing out trying to figure out from each guy, what was done, and you trying to get people to get back with you, requiring them to come to you and say, hey, here's what we were done, here's what we accomplished today, here's what we're looking at in terms of a timeline. You gave us 3 days to work, look at this, we still should be on that timeline. Even if it's just them sending you a text message, really does a lot in terms of changing the way the foreman thinks. Because the reason why it takes longer is the foreman doesn't care if it takes longer. The way he gets paid, isn't going to change, right? He's still going to show up, and he's just showing up and working to get hours, right? So that's not going to change. So you got to change the entire mentality. And one easy way to begin doing that, if you can do what Bryce said and set times to your guys every morning, that's ideal. But one easy way to get there that shouldn't ever not happen, right? It should be consistent. It's requiring each of your foremen to give an account of what they accomplished of that day and how they are progressing towards the deadline that you set.
Yeah, it's like you said, there's accountability issues there, and because of the way that we've, structured and grown rapidly, there's issues, right? On our side as leadership, myself, and so yeah, I just want to. We've seeing the quantifiable results, right, and seeing the actual revenue that's been either lost or issues that we have withheld, payments that we have withheld, and different quality control issues, and timelines, timeframes, things of that nature is really, like I said, now it's more, it's a lot more visible. We know that it's something that's recurring, and yeah, that's why we're restructuring the way that we do things now and making sure that we're a little more intentional, and that we set those expectations with the team members, and that we have a process that's not going to overload the small unit that I have now. So I have, I have 3 estimators, project managers in the office, and I got them doing a lot. So I want to make sure that I don't overload them, and then I'm doing a lot as well. And at the same time, we have accountability in the field. There's always been a disconnect from the office to the field. 2 other construction businesses that I worked for prior, we had the same issues. There was always that disconnect from the office to the field. And if you had poor leadership in the field, or you didn't have the right support for them, then it could continue to happen. You can have this cycle that you get stuck in, and you're kind of held hostage by it until you retrain or rescout somebody else. And that's something that I've seen that's been recurring. This last year, we went through a few leaders, and I said, okay, I discovered, holes in one, the HR, interviewing, 2, in the actual process that I have as far as dealing with them, right? And that's always been the challenge is, well, do we have to be there to micromanage them in the beginning? That doesn't seem feasible, right? Why do you have a leader if you're going to micromanage him? And then 2, how do you provide the right support and adequate training for employees? One of the foremen that I'm having issues with now was actually an employee that we trained that was willing to step up so that he can learn. And so yeah, there's a couple of holes there in process and the way that we do things, and I just want to make sure that we start on the right foot. And we've already discussed eliminating changing the way that we do things and being more structured as far as that goes. I want to make sure to select the right process and the right solution, so that I don't continue to have issues, or so that it doesn't fail.
Yeah, it's great, and I think you're taking the right steps to do that, Aaron. Especially. All right, guys. Any other lingering, burning questions here before we wrap and send everybody off to the tail end of the first week of the new year? All right. Well then, you know how we like to end. Everybody unmute, and we'll say growth on 3 and start off 2025 with a great growth on 3. Ready? 3, 2, 1, growth!
Growth!
Growth.
All right, guys.
We'll
Thanks for
see you
being here.
guys.
See ya.